There's no doubt when Erick Erickson and the Red State group comes to town, you want to be where y'all are. So I'm here because y'all are changing America. And I got to tell you, when I was sitting there in Congress with my congressional teammates from South Carolina, and we were looking around for support on cut, cap, and balance, we had to look no further than Red State and Erick Erickson and all of y'all to get this nation excited about cut, cap, and balance. And today, it still remains the only way to save our nation from financial destruction. Bottom line. When me and all the guys in the crazy South Carolina delegation decided to vote against that last debt ceiling deal, it was y'all that were already ahead of us. So let me just say to y'all, thank you very much for serving the conservative cause and a very good microphone. But that was our pleasure. Finally, what I was called up here to do, anytime you give the microphone to a politician, it's kind of like giving an offering basket to a preacher. We just keep on keeping on. I'm here to welcome you to the great state of South Carolina. Some people actually believe that around the state, by the way, but welcome to the great state of South Carolina, where the conservative agenda is at the front of our minds. We will do what we've done since 1980. We will choose the next Republican nominee for the presidency of the United States. We'll do it. We'll do it. I'll just finally say, think about your candidate, pray about your candidate, and get out and let's make sure that Obama hits that road, Jack, and don't come back no more.
Now, for the next 24 hours, we have a heck of a day and night for you. A housekeeping note, at 8 o'clock, we will move from here to Sticky Fingers down the street. Apparently the microphone doesn't like me. Okay, there we go. So at 8 o'clock, we will move down the street to Sticky Fingers with Governor Nikki Haley of South Carolina. I talked to Governor Pawlenty this morning. He said to tell you all hi. He's a little focused on Iowa. I told him if he got tired of Iowa barbecue, he could come get tired of South Carolina barbecue, or at least alternate between shrimp and grits and barbecue. He said he'll be here soon. I've got a special place in my heart for our next speaker, and I was so delighted, really at the last minute, that he was able to get up here tonight. Last year, I got a lot of flack from a lot of conservatives, a lot of Republicans, for backing a guy who had no prior history in elected politics and saying, don't you know this guy can't win? There's no reason for you to support him. Well, he won on health care repeatedly, and then he ran for governor of Florida. He was enemy number one back in the 90s with the Clinton administration for daring to use his own money to run some ads against Hillary Care. So then he got elected to the governorship of the state of Florida. So let's see, how did we do last year? We got Marco Rubio elected to the Senate. Tomorrow you'll hear from my friend Adam Hasner, who's now running for the Senate. And tonight you will hear from the governor of the fantastic state of Florida, my dad's home state, where he's convinced one day I will move him in his old age. And it will be in good stead and financial soundness because it has Rick Scott as governor.
How's everybody doing? Well, thank goodness for Eric, right? Yeah. I mean, if you think back, I can tell you, I met him during the healthcare debate, and if it wasn't for Eric, we wouldn't have had the success we had. We wouldn't have slowed it down to give us time to make sure all Americans knew exactly what was happening. He made sure all Americans knew how bad the bill was, and what, do you all know what happened today? Yeah. 11th Circuit did the right thing, right? So it is clearly unconstitutional. And in Florida, we are not implementing it. We are not doing anything to move that bad plan along. Obamacare is not the affordable, it's the unaffordable Health Care Act. Obamacare is a disaster for patients, it's a disaster for taxpayers, and it's a disaster for creating jobs in our country. And if it wasn't for the hard work that Eric put in, it would not have gotten slowed down. So thank goodness for Eric. And all of us, every conservative in the country that's been running for any office has to thank Eric for getting the word out about what we believe in. So tonight I can do two things. I can do one of two things. I can give you a nice speech, or I can just, you name the issue and I'll tell you why we're doing the right thing in Florida. So they gave me 15 minutes. I brought my timer. So we have a few minutes left. So you you tell me the issue and I'll tell you exactly what we're doing in Florida, which I believe, like South Carolina and a lot of other states, is the thing we ought to be doing in this country to turn this country around.
Illegal immigration.
Okay, let's do education first. In education in Florida, education is for the benefit of our children. So just this year we did 4 things. Step 1, we said no more tenure. So from now on, our principals are going to be able to say, you know what, I want the best teacher for these kids. We're going to get rid of bad teachers and keep good teachers. Second, we're going to have merit pay. We're going to measure our teachers, and the best teachers, not the teachers necessarily that have been there the longest, the best teachers are going to get paid more. Third, charter schools. We have 412 charter schools in the state right now. Charter schools are basically public schools run by third parties. So guess what? Our parents have more choices so their children can pick the school that they want to go to. Fourth, scholarships. We took our worst performing schools and said, the kids who are going to those schools, you can go to any school in your area you want to. We'll move the money will follow you, not the school. So in Florida, we're going to do everything we can to lead the nation to make sure we have the best educated workforce in the country. Because every state, South Carolina, Texas, Wisconsin, all of us are competing for jobs. The place that does the best with education is going to do much better than the other places. What's the next issue that people want?
How about high-speed rail?
High-speed rail. Yeah. I'm sure in every state you want our high-speed rail project. I think since I turned it down, they've given it away twice. So here was the deal. I've offered it all across the country. Nobody's picked up on it, but nobody said they want to do it. But here was the deal. Tell me if you want anybody in the room, you can still get it. Call Secretary LaHood. I'm sure he'll do the deal with you. I'll give you $2.4 billion. You've got to put up $1 billion to finish construction, lose money every year, and if you get tired of losing money, you got to give the $2.4 billion back. How many people want to do that deal? Anybody? No. It's a financial disaster. It was a federal project that Florida did not want. We did the right thing. We killed it. And in my understanding is they gave it away back when they had the first budget fight back in March or April, and then now they've allocated it among a bunch of states. So I don't know how many times they're going to give it away. So what's another issue? Jobs. All right, in our state, we're like every other state in this country. We need jobs. I ran the campaign. If you asked me about anything, I was going to explain to you why the policies that I believe in were going to create jobs for our state. So we started out, when I came in office, 12% unemployment. 12%. We're now down to 10.6% unemployment. In the month of May, we generated more jobs than the other 49 states, and in June, we generated more than 25% of the jobs in the country. We're out to compete against every other state. I constantly tell Rick Perry, we will win. He's done a good job of kicking our, and he's #1 in job creation. This year we're #2. There was a Chief Executive magazine said that his state for the 7th year in a row was #1. We're #3. We are out to beat him, and here's how we're going to do it. We're doing it by reducing taxes, reducing regulation, and reducing litigation. So this year, while the federal government is doing the wrong things, While they're, continuing to focus on more taxes, step back. That's not, on more taxes, we generate 85,500 jobs in Florida. And we have a balanced budget, we have no new debt, and we cut property taxes $210 million, and we cut the business tax out for more than almost 50% of the business owners in our state. All those things make everybody understand that our state is, like Texas was in other states, we are absolutely open for business, and we're going to win. What else? What other immigration. So immigration, look, the federal government needs to do their job. Secure our borders. Why is this so hard? Secure the borders. Have an immigration policy that we understand, and somebody that wants to come into our country legally understands. Have a work visa program that works. And if you're in our country illegally, we ought to be able to ask you what you're doing. We should be asking, if you're doing something illegal in our country, we should be able to ask you. So, fortunately, around the country, things are happening. We're clearly changing the fight on immigration, and the right things are going to happen. I tried to get a bill passed last year. We got it through the Senate. It didn't get through the House on immigration. It will happen this session. What's another issue that's impacting our state? Which one? Drilling. Oh, drilling. Well, as you know, we had a year ago, we had a big problem. We had the oil spill in the Gulf, and so it hurt our economy last year. Fortunately, this year the Panhandle is busy. So everything we've got to do, we have got to become energy independent. No longer should we be no longer should we be buying oil from these countries that don't like us. It's crazy. We've got to drill for oil. We've got to do it safely. Like in Florida, we care about our beaches. We care about our economy. We're going to do it safely. But on top of that, we're going to make sure we focus on renewables. We're the Sunshine State. There ought to be something we can do in Florida. We're going to do it. Let me tell you a couple other things. Just a couple other things we've done. How many of you think that welfare is for the benefit of people that use drugs? No. So what we passed this year. We said, if you're going to apply for welfare, now welfare is supposed to be for the benefit of children, not for an adult using drugs. You are going to have to pass a drug test, or you will not get When I came into office this year, we were the Oxycodone Express. 87% of all the oxycodone sold in the country was in Florida. So we are cracking down on illegal drug abuse. In 2010, I did a strike force when I first came into office, and we passed some pill mill legislation that went into effect July 1st. But what we did was, last year, I think the numbers were something like 58 million prescriptions were dispensed by physicians. This year, less than 1 million. So we have completely changed the debate. But everything we're doing is what all the states that have good Republican governors and Republican House and Senate, we're cutting taxes, we're reducing the size of government. I walked in with a $3.7 billion budget deficit. Our fiscal year started July 1st. We are projecting a $1.2 billion surplus. That's exactly what the federal government ought to be doing. Right. I was on C-SPAN the other day, a few days before they raised the debt ceiling, and I said, this is not about a debt ceiling. This is about spending. We can't be borrowing 43 cents of every dollar the federal government spends. And what did the two commentators said? You don't understand it, Governor. If we don't do this, the stock market's going to go down. Look, we've got to elect the right people. We've got to hold everybody accountable. We've got to stay active, just like you're doing tonight. We've got to stay active in these races. When somebody comes, think about it. Everybody, when they run for office, what do they say? I hate taxes. I hate regulation. We've got to get rid of frivolous lawsuits. Well, then what the heck? What's going on? Taxes go up. Regulation's getting worse. And we have too much litigation. So we've got to say, if you run for office, we're going to hold you accountable. You're not going to just say these things in a race and then go away and then we're going to re-elect you. We're going to do, and you know what? What Red State does, it holds all of us accountable. All of us that have been in business, my whole life. I lived in public housing when I grew up. When I started school, I've lived the American dream. I went to public school, I got an education, I got a job. The jobs I got in the beginning didn't pay a lot. I was a fry cook for 85 cents an hour. I cleaned telephone booths. I enlisted in the Navy. But because of America, anything is possible. So, I think I didn't hear the time off go off, but I think it's off. One thing politicians do, and now that I'm elected, I guess I'm a politician, but one thing politicians do, they talk too long. So let me finish by telling you, it is great to be here. Thank each of you for being an activist. Thank each of you for holding all of us accountable. Thank each of you for making sure everybody knows that we believe in the principles of conservatism, the principles of following the Constitution, watching how we spend our dollars. You make a difference. Now, the next person that's going to be coming up, he has made a big, big, big difference in this country. When I fought Obamacare, he was the senator that said he got up every day and said, we are going to figure out how we're going to stop this. He fought it every day. During all of these budget fights over the last few years, who's the one senator that says, we're not going to raise taxes, we're going to watch how we spend every dollar? It's Jim DeMint. What Senator DeMint believes in, he believes exactly like the Founding Fathers. He believes that in individual liberty, individual freedom. So let's do the loudest applause we can for the great Senator Jim DeMint.
To get a replacement here, but it sounds like it's working for the minute. But I'm here to thank you. Folks, I was afraid to come tonight, I have to tell you that, because I heard there might be some Tea Party terrorists here. I thought so. I've had a harrowing couple of weeks because these Tea Party folks held me hostage in Washington. They put a gun to my head. They forced me to say extreme and radical things like balance the budget or support cut, cap, and balance. And worst of all, they made me vote against a bill that did not cut spending and continued to increase our debt over the next 10 years. But just like a lot of hostage situations, I came to love my captors. So I guess you've heard that Obama's going to do a bus tour to get the economy going again. Now, I have growing concerns that President Obama may not understand how the American economy really works, or what kind of serious trouble we're really in. And yesterday, my worst fears were confirmed. A reporter overheard the president asking the bus driver a question. This was a question. Now that we've lost AAA, who are we going to call when this bus breaks down? Friends, you've all been a part of a remarkable awakening in our country. People from all walks of life and all political persuasions have come together all across our country because of their concern and their fear of the out-of-control spending, the growing debt, and the expansion of government into all areas of the private sector. People are genuinely afraid for our country. But what we saw is Americans take back their country, at least in part, over the last 2 years. People took to the streets. A lot of you were there too. They came to rallies in Washington. They went to town halls all across the country. They sent emails. They called congressmen and senators. They got behind candidates who couldn't win. We were told, no chance for Marco Rubio. No chance for Rand Paul. No chance for Pat Toomey. A conservative cannot win in Pennsylvania. No chance for Mike Lee to take on an incumbent senior Republican. No chance for Ron Johnson, another businessman, to win in the most liberal state in the country, Wisconsin. But I now serve with all 5 of those senators today.
And you helped make it happen.
Because of you.
Because of you!
You have changed things. And as soon as these new senators walked in the door, things that they said never could happen started to happen. They told me for years, Jim, you can't change the Senate. You can't stop wasteful, pork barrel, parochial earmarks. You'll never change that. But as soon as they walked in the door, we banned the earmarks and began to focus on the good of the nation for the first time. And the next thing we did in the Republican conference, led by a lot of these freshmen, was to pass a resolution that we would fight for a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. Does this one work? I'll try this one. Does this one work? I might try. It's got a real wire on it. It's the old-fashioned one. I'll change positions here. But this new group has started to change the whole debate in America because of you. But what we saw during the last 2 years was power slip out of the hands of the Washington establishment and into the hands of the American people. All during the campaign, we were dismissed by Republicans and Democrats alike. We were told we would fizzle out before the elections and that we wouldn't make any difference and our candidates could not win. Even when 1 million people came to Washington on 9/12, they were ignored, even by a lot of Republicans. But the whole paradigm in Washington has changed now. I know when I get up every morning that there are at least 5 or 6 younger, brighter, better-looking senators getting up before me to go out and carry the torch for freedom. And that was because of you. And my life's a whole lot better now because I've got a team to fight with. And that team is helping to embolden some Republicans who've been there a long time and are rediscovering their conservative roots. We're not winning in Washington. We didn't win the debate for the CR. We didn't win the whole debt limit debate. But we did change the dynamic. And if Republicans will understand the new paradigm, we're going to start winning these. The big mistake we made is we should never go behind closed doors and negotiate with the Democrats. Ago and not just a few weeks ago, is to put the right plan, the right solution on the table and take our case to the American people and ask them to help. Within a few weeks, and a lot of you are here today, put together the largest coalition of grassroots conservatives, Tea Party activists to get behind cut, cap, and balance. Yes. We have been told by our own leadership in the House and the Senate that these Republican freshmen would not work with anyone to do what we needed to do to move the country ahead. But all we had to do is show them Americans were behind them. And we got just about every Republican and 5 Democrats to support cut, cap, and balance. And it was gaining so much steam that Harry Reid wouldn't even let it on the floor of the Senate for debate. But what we should have done, and what we need to do as Republicans from now on, and that's why I don't like this new super Congress that's going to go behind closed doors. You're going to have a bill pop out like a piece of bread out of a toaster, and we're going to be asked to eat it, and it isn't going to be good. But what we have to do is take our case to the American people, because millions of Americans, if they get engaged, they can change things in Washington. We saw it last year. We're going to see it again in 2012. But folks, I don't have to tell you trouble our country is in right now. I mean, this is not about partisan differences. Our country is in a place it's never been before. The kind of debt we have, where we borrow $140 billion every month just to pay our regular bills. I know what happens to businesses that operate that way. As soon as the bank says no more money, you're out of business. And what's going to happen to us as soon as China says no more money, or we can't borrow anymore? Well, what's been happening this year is the Federal Reserve's been printing. And this is something we've got to stop and we've got to take control of. Our country's in trouble. Folks, but this is what I want to leave you with. We are America. We are Americans. There is an instinctive love of freedom in the hearts of just about every American. Even those that are hopelessly dependent on the government, who have been told lies for years, America will respond to the call for freedom. And we need to take our case to the American people. We need to let them know that our best days are in front of us, that the principles of freedom that made this country great and prosperous and compassionate are still at work today. I see it all over South Carolina and all over the country. People are starting families, they're starting businesses, they're working hard, they're sacrificing, and they're being smothered by a huge federal government, but they're still making this work despite what the government's doing. And we need to make our numbers grow. We need to communicate to every American and invite them to join this fight for freedom in 2012. We have to sound the alarm that this could be our last chance to turn our country around. But we also have to remind everyone that we are Americans. We can win this. We can make our future brighter than our past. But we have to go out and fight for it. Last election, only 29% of those over 18 voted. 70% in Iraq. The people who want more from government are organized and they're going to come out and vote. We have to take our neighbors with us. The good news today is we no longer have to hold a press conference and hope NBC covers us. Over half of Americans get their news from the internet, from places like Red State, who they can count on for the truth and an honest perspective of what's going on. We have the ability now to communicate with millions of grassroots activists across the country. What they want is some honesty and courage. They want candidates who have character, competence, and courage today. We need your help finding those candidates for the House, the Senate, and especially for the President. And I encourage all of you, hold your fire, keep your powder dry, keep interviewing these candidates. Let's find out where they really stand on the tough issues as they come up. Let's find out to elect conservatives to the Senate, and I appreciate your help. But just remember, folks, this is America. Freedom works. Let's let it work. Let's go out and fight for it. Let's make 2012 even a bigger earthquake election than we had in 2012.
It's worth pointing out that the governor of Florida, but for grassroots help in the primary season, might not have gotten the nomination, but he had the crowd and was able to get the nomination and went on and got elected. The Senate Conservatives Fund, the brainchild of Senator DeMint, has done more to help conservatives get to the United States Senate than any other group out there. It's a wonderful organization. I hope it is. Now, there are some candidates that you will hear from tomorrow who are running for the United States Senate, and some who are running for the United States Congress. You'll mingle with them. Just so you understand about the Red State Gathering, if this is your first time coming, the speakers to this event pay their own way. We don't give an honorarium. They want to be here with you. Yeah. So they're here and you're here. Now, it is 7:15. You can cool down somewhere other than in here. And at 8 o'clock, you can get sweaty again, making your way to Sticky Fingers now on Meeting Street, where Governor Nikki Haley will welcome you to some barbecue, South Carolina style. But from here on out, mix and mingle. Just be advised, we're aware that this crowd is so popular tonight that the fine organization Media Matters has sent one of their hit squads to videotape us. So we welcome Media Matters. Over the next 24 hours, you're going to hear from some real fighters for freedom. Tonight, have fun. God bless you, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.